Elise, you want to teach for me? Immediately, no, absolutely not. Won't do it. Go to text and back. Sure, I will. So here we are. I'm excited. I think God has a lot He wants to say tonight. I've been preparing, and it's going to be good. Actually, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be giving my testimony. So you get a lot of me this month. If you have a problem with it, take it up with Bill and Tina. It's all them, not me. So you'll be getting some, little tidbits here and there tonight in my message, but 2 weeks you'll get the whole story. We're going to start with, I get to teach on powerlessness. So we're going to start with our first principle. 2 weeks ago, Bill started with this principle, and I'm going to I think I get to wrap it up, but I like to look at it as 2 parts. The first part is realizing that I'm not God, because you're not. You cannot do what God can do. The second part is I admit that I am powerless to control my own tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. When Bill talked, he read Romans 7, 18 through 19. That says, "And I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. I want to do what is right, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway." I added verse 25 because I think that's our answer. Thank God. The answer is in Jesus Christ our Lord. I know for a fact, one time when I was leading worship, that I said, we are not good on our own. We can't do good on our own. We are sinful. We are born with a trajectory to hell, and Jesus comes and stands in the middle and says, I can be the good in you. Amen. I got you. We can't do that on our own. We want to, but we can't. When we come to situations in our lives where we're dealing with things that hurt, or we feel empty, we have a void, we have a choice. We can choose the things that earth wants to give us, which are drugs, alcohol, unhealthy relationships, friends that aren't leading us the right way, too much food. The list goes on and on, these things that the earth gives us, the world gives us, and for a moment it's going to satisfy us, right? Like for that moment, instantly we like it. But what happens? We keep coming back and back and back because that void in us keeps coming back. But when we decide to choose heavenly things, when we decide to choose Jesus, that void gets filled forever. And we accept the love and the grace and the mercy and the power and the strength. So we have that choice. When we realize we're not God, and when we admit that we are powerless and our life is unmanageable, we have to start by taking, there are 4 actions that we have to take to truly move forward in our healing. And that first one is you have to stop denying your pain. I'm not going to spend any time on this one because 2 weeks ago, Bill talked all about denying that pain. You can't do that. We're going to move on to the second one, which is you have to stop playing God. You are either going to serve God or you're going to serve yourself. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve 2 masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other." I want to ask you a question. To those of you who have yet to surrender your life to Christ, who are trying to do this on your own, who are choosing to take the things that the world offers us, or even those who have accepted Christ as their Savior, but you're like, I got this, I can do this. How's that going? I bet not great. I bet not great. But let me tell you something. Your attempt to control yourself and to control others is what got you here in the first place. Back to Romans, we try to do good, we want to do good, but we can't because we are not good in and of ourselves. It's Jesus that makes us good. It's time to let go, and it's time to let God take over and be in control of your life. Number 3, we have to start admitting your powerlessness. Left to our own devices, we are going to fail every single time. We cannot do this alone. You're going to hear that a lot tonight. After practicing this as many times as I have, I just keep hearing, you're not alone. You're not alone. You can't do this alone. Stop trying to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. We have to admit this. We have to turn to God and we have to ask him to take the reins. Matthew 19:26 says, humanly speaking, it is impossible. Put whatever you want there. Humanly speaking is impossible. But with God, everything is possible. This isn't easy though, because when we ask God to take the reins and show us what we're doing and what we should be doing instead, we're gonna have to do hard things. And those hard things are usually the things we don't want to do. Like not drinking anymore. Or saying goodbye to some friends you might have. Or walking away from a relationship. Maybe not eating chocolate anymore. Not eating chocolate till April. It's hard. And God says we gotta do it. Because the more you do the hard things, the easier they get. And the easier they get, the more you're going to want to do them. And then you're going to see your life come together in such a way that you never thought was possible. Because God makes all things possible. Number 4, start admitting that our lives have become unmanageable. The only reason you're even ready, make sure I say this right, the only reason you even take a step to change is because you know deep down that you have done everything you can, and you realize that you cannot control it. You can't do it. You have dug such a deep hole. You have tried to climb out so many times. And you're stuck there and you're like, I can't do this. I can't do this alone. Psalms 40:12 says, for troubles surround me, too many to count. My sins pile up so high, I can't see my way out. You've given it all you got, and you aren't finding the healing or the reprieve that you've been looking for, that you've been working so hard for. When you get there, that's when you're ready. That's when you say, I can't do this, I can't manage this, but God, you can. We have to put all of that into God's hands because he can manage it. I could just be done there, I guess, but I'm not. Because when we start to do these 4 things, we come into situations where there are things that we have to battle, things that we have to work through, things that we might start feeling, and that's going to take us to our word powerless tonight. We're going to jump right into it. P is for pride. We cannot be prideful, but instead, we need to be full of humility. Proverbs 29:23 says, pride ends in humiliation, while humility brings honor. Because here's the truth, guys. It's not about us. It's not about what we can do. It's not about what we did. It's not about what we're doing. It's all about what he's doing, what he can do, and what he will do in our lives. When we allow God to be the front and center, our pride takes a backseat. O is for only if. I like to say if only, but because we're spelling out the word powerless, we have to use O, so only if. Let's see here. Examples. If only I stayed home. If only so-and-so was there. If only fill in the blank. If only they didn't let me go. If only I'd stop drinking. If only they wouldn't buy the Oreos. Guys, if only is just a cheap way to rationalize your behavior. The Leader's Manual actually says, you're living living in the fantasy land of rationalization. And I love that because it's true. Fantasy is fake, so we're living in our fake mistakes because if only something else happened, we wouldn't have done what we did. It's so much easier to blame somebody else, right? Makes you feel better when you can put the blame on somebody else, but in reality, you made that choice. You decided to do that thing, but if only they had been there, I wouldn't have done it. You gotta shift that. You gotta shift that. When we admit that we are powerless, we start walking in truth. Luke 12:2-3 says, "The time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. Whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops for all to hear." Next, we have W is for worrying. Do I have any worriers out there? If I could raise all my limbs, I would. My name should be Lisa Worrying Devitt. It's a real problem. 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with panic disorder. So worrying is literally my life. Fighting it every single day. And then after I had my children, I got OCD, intrusive thoughts, and that's awful. You worry about things that probably are never, ever, ever going to happen. So on a constant basis, I'm at war with myself. And I heard something that said, worrying is not trusting that God can do it. And that hurt me because I thought I was really, really good at trusting God. Really good. I almost said pride myself, but we're not supposed to have pride. We're supposed to be humble. Apparently, I'm not as good as I thought because I worry a lot. Matthew 6:34 says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Tomorrow will worry about itself. You know why? Because we're not promised tomorrow. So why are we worrying about tomorrow or next week or next year when we might not even get that? We have to put our focus in today. We have to trust that God's going to get us through it. You know, on the days that my worrying is a little bit more out of control, I lean into God a little harder. I say, God, I can't do this. You got to show me truth. You got to get me through this. And you know, my worrying isn't as bad those days. Instead of focusing on what we cannot do, we have to shift, refocus, and think about what God can do. E is for escape. We have to stop trying to escape the pain and hide from your, you have to stop trying to escape pain and hide from your problems by diving into addictions, unhealthy relationships, or habits that are absolutely out of control. You have to stop. It's draining. It's time wasting. It hurts you. It's never going to fulfill you. Remember what I said earlier about worldly things and heavenly things. We keep reaching and reaching and reaching and reaching and reaching for those worldly things because they satisfy us like that. But just as quickly as they satisfied us, they're gone. And what do? Find something else. Instant gratification. And it's gone. But when we choose God, that void in us that we feel that we keep trying to fill with other things is finally full. And we taste what real joy actually is. And we have something to look forward to every day. When we lay our problems at the cross and we forget them, we find healing and we share with other people. Ephesians 5:13 says, "But everything that is exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes light." You need to let God shower you in His grace. Let Him shower you in His mercy. Let Him show you His power and His strength. Let Him show you His love that is absolutely insane. R is for resentments. I'm sure we all have people in our lives that we hold a little bit of resentment for, or a lot. It's probably an unhealthy exercise, but we're going to do it. Think of somebody you hold resentment for. Just really think about it. Does it make you angry? Frustrated? Does your blood start to boil? Is there smoke coming out of your ears? let it go. Just let it go. When I was practicing this, I started thinking about Jesus, because why wouldn't I? And I thought about all the people he could have felt resentment for. You know, like people that spit at him, people that probably threw rocks at him, the ones that called him names, the ones that said you're a liar. Us. But he didn't. Instead, he said, I love you so much, I'm going to die for you. But he doesn't just die for us. Let me paint this picture for you. He's beaten so badly for you that the organs on his back were exposed. And then those organs were beaten. Then he was given a cross made out of wood that I'm certain was not sanded down to be soft. So that as he carried that cross, the splinters were going in his open wounds. He had to carry the cross, which I'm guessing was not light, all the way up to Calvary, knowing he was going to be nailed to that cross. He gets to Calvary, nails shoved in his wrists and his ankles for you. Every time he has to breathe, he has to push on his ankles, slide his open wounds up the cross, getting splinters to take a breath that hurt. And he did that for you, instead of harboring resentment for you. So who are you to hold resentment for somebody else? You have to find a way to offer forgiveness to those who have hurt you. When you find that forgiveness and you give it, I promise you, you're going to feel lighter. You don't just free them, but you free yourself. It's never worth it to hold that. L is for loneliness. As you start to seek freedom and healing for yourself, you may start to feel lonely. Because God's going to say, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, move on from that. You leave your old life behind you. But did you know that loneliness isn't a choice? Because God is always with you. You also have a community that wants to be with you and walk alongside you through your healing process. That's us. We want to do that. If you keep coming here, if you become a regular here, I promise you, you will not be lonely. Hebrews 13:1. Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Amen. E is for emptiness. When you admit your powerlessness, that void and that emptiness will go away. Jesus fills that void, and you are going to start to feel whole for the first time. S is for selfishness. When you admit your powerlessness, you realize it's not about you. You'll soon become less self-centered, and your selfishness takes a back seat. And finally, S is for separation. Romans 8:38-39. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any power, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. There is no longer a separation of you and God, but I don't think it really ever was. People say, I found God. He didn't go anywhere. God didn't go anywhere. You went somewhere. You left. You shut your door. You put your blinders up. When you surrender to God, those blinders fall off and that door swings open and you see that Jesus is standing right there, waiting for you, like he always has been, wanting to offer you forgiveness, offering you grace, offering you love. You cannot do this alone. You cannot get yourself out of this mess. You can choose to keep filling your void with the things that the world offers you, but you're going to fail every time. It's time to surrender it all over to the one who created you, the one who wants nothing more than a relationship with you, your biggest cheerleader. God wants you back. So it's time. We're going to open our altars to anybody that wants to come up here and pray, be prayed over, be prayed for. Tina's going to